February was Dune month. I know there were several of you that read Dune along with me, joined in on some of those discussions, and I had really been looking forward to that. A lot of times reading feels like this lonely hobby, reading a book at home and no one else you know is reading the same book at the same time. And sometimes it's nice to have people to talk about a book with, even if they're random people on the internet. Also, as a word of encouragement, if it has taken more than 1 month to get through this book, or you weren't able to keep up, or you didn't comment on any threads or videos or anything, still do. It's still a good book worth reading. It's still worth having the knowledge of what's going on behind the scenes when you're watching the movie. And I get notifications whenever I get a comment, so don't feel like because it's March that you missed it. If you're only halfway in still and you want to keep reading and you still want to discuss this, go back to my community tab or any of the 2 or 3 videos I made this month, whatever you feel like you want to comment on, because I still want to include you. The read along was for everyone. As I film this, it is March 1st. My husband and I are going to see part 2 of the movie this afternoon. So I'm recording this before seeing the movie, and then this video will come out after having seen the movie. So as of right now, I have no idea what I'm going to think, but it seems that reviews are very high. As a book person, we're never going to get every detail that we might want from the book, but we get all that extra stuff like sweeping cinematic shots and music and stuff. It was also interesting doing this read through after recently having been to Arizona. I knew the word saguaro. It's all over in this book as one of the plant life forms on Arrakis. But on previous read-throughs, I had never connected that word to mean cliche cactus. And then I went to the Saguaro National Park in Arizona. Well, we drove through it and then we went to a museum. And it was really interesting going into this reread with that perspective of living in the Pacific Northwest, which is very wet. High humidity, lots of rain, lots of greenery, going to Arizona where it's dry and brown and deserty, and then reading this book, I felt like I had more sympathy for the characters going from Caladan to Arrakis, and that feeling of going to such a different and strange world. Arizona is only a couple of states away, but it's so different. We went in the winter, so it just felt like a pleasant summer day while we were there, but it was weird to see how they prepare for the rest of the year when it's hot all the time. It was weird to see playgrounds with coverings over them. It was weird to go to an outdoor museum and have sunscreen stations, water bottle filling stations way more often than you see them here. Just the fact that they have to prepare for summer in a way that we don't have to here where I live. And then thinking about that on a huge planet-wide scale, going from a planet where you don't even have to think about water to where all the generations of people who have ever lived there have to be obsessive in, Jessica says not even water, but moisture. Like just the little bits of moisture that you breathe out have to be caught in the still suit. Your sweat, your excrement, your tears, everything is so different. I had one thought that I hadn't added to any of my discussion posts yet. So when they walk across the desert, they have this special kind of sand walk that they do, that they have to practice not walking in a steady beat. And as a musician and music teacher, it made me think, when you're constantly practicing walking unevenly, I wonder how that affects music and musicianship. I don't know. It was a random thought. So I finished Dune, and then I finished Ascendant by Michael Miller. This is the first in the Songs of Chaos trilogy. It's the one that was sent to me about a month ago. The PA rep, Stacy, who sent it to me, had said that I would probably be interested in it based on other videos on my channel. I will say I'm very impressed with the publishing reps that have reached out to me. There's only been 2 so far, and I'll get to the next one after this. They have shown that they've looked at my channel to see whether I would like the book they're asking about before taking the time to email me, and then they've been very on top of things. This one came almost immediately, and then the next book I'm going to talk about also came pretty much immediately. So whoever's doing the repping for these authors are doing a very good job, and I feel honored having a small channel to have been reached out to in the first place by people who really seem like they know what they're doing. After this, I will be filming my review of this book. I'm not sure when I'll finish this series, maybe within the next few months. I'm taking a little bit of a break from it. When I started this at the end of January, I was really worried about how it was going to go because it started so tropey and it seemed so copycat-ish of Aragon. But I think it just sets up those tropes so you know what you're getting into, you know what kind of story you're getting. You're getting a boy who goes on a journey with his dragon and has to learn about his bond with his dragon and his abilities and stuff on the way. There's problems to overcome, there's battles, there's fighting. There's no romance. So that might actually be a draw of some young people who might like the adventure part without reading about any romance. I know some people specifically search for books with no romance. This is one of them. So that was a good solid story. And then before I finished this, about a week ago, at the time that I'm filming this, I got another email from another rep company called Leo PR asking if I would like an arc of a new novella by one of the authors they rep for, and that is When Among Crows by Veronica Roth. I did not recognize that name when I read it in the email, so I went to look her up, and I've actually only read one of her books. She's the author of the Divergent series that came out around a decade ago, back when the dystopian teens fighting each other kind of Hunger Games era was really popular. I read the first Divergent book and then nothing else by her. And I don't know why. I think maybe I just wasn't sure if she wrote adult fiction. I was in my 20s. My sister-in-law wanted to read Divergent. I checked it out from the library for her, but I read it before I gave it to her to read. And I enjoyed it, and I don't remember why I didn't continue. And then I never read anything else by her. So Veronica Roth actually does write adult and young adult fiction, fantasy genre, sci-fi genre. So I have already started this. I'm a few chapters in. I'm enjoying it enough that I might try to read more by her now that I remember that she exists. I feel bad saying that. This is also my first time reading an ARC, which is advanced reader copy. So this book is not out yet. It comes out in May. And even though I'm already reading it, I'll put out a review for it closer to the book's release date. So probably end of April, early May time. And it's kind of exciting to get a book early, to be part of the hype before it comes out. I know reviewers can request ARCs. It's not something I have ever done or even looked into because I am so behind on so many books I want to read that have already been out, sometimes for over a decade, that it's hard to try to get into new books and new releases. But so far I'm really enjoying this. It's like a modern fairy tale kind of thing. It starts with a guardian of the forest, but set in modern day Chicago. That's all I'll say about that for now because I'll wait and try to hype it up more closer to time. But then, unexpectedly, when they sent me this one, they also threw in a second novella. This one's been out for a year. This is Arch Conspirator. I emailed the rep Kristen to thank her, and she was like, yeah, I know it's science fiction, but I thought you might enjoy it. And I think I will. So it's another novella by the same author, Veronica Roth, and I have not started this one yet. I'll probably read this one in March, either right after this one or in between big fantasy books. This one is a sci-fi retelling of Antigone. I've never read Antigone by Sophocles? Is it Sophocles? I don't remember. Anyway, I don't know the original, so I'll probably at least look up a plot summary, synopsis thing, because I have a feeling reading a retelling is more impactful when you know what the original is like, and then you're like, oh, I see that parallel. I see how you modernized that or futurized it. So I'm starting March with new books that I didn't even expect to have, and I was really excited about it. So these are super short. They shouldn't take me that long, slow reader that I am. And then after this, I plan on going into one of those big fantasy books. And that is Lord of Chaos by Robert Jordan, book 6 of The Wheel of Time. With dust jacket. Can't read it with a dust jacket. I actually started The prologue, I read about 2 pages. I was reading it in the evening and I thought, you know, I can probably finish this prologue before I go to bed tonight. Prologues aren't that long, right? But this prologue is like 61 pages. Some of you could probably read that in a very short amount of time before bed. Not me. So I put it down for the night, and then the next day in the mail, those 2 novellas came. So I feel okay stopping where I did. The prologues of these usually start with some servant of the Dark Lord and some of their behind the scenes stuff. And at the point I stopped, it got to the end of that part of the prologue and then is going into one of the main characters, looks like Nynaeve. And I might need to take the time to find some kind of recap. I don't know. Actually, big series like this, they usually do a pretty good job of reminding you of what happened in the last book. And if I have time, I'll make a character video for the first 5, or I may just take some notes as I go and make the next Wheel of Time video after this one. I don't know. I've said it before, I got a little overwhelmed and then I got behind, and then to make character videos from the books before this, I would really have to go back and read passages again, and I'm not sure I want to take the time for that. So February, I read 2 books. In March, I may read 3, but only because 2 of them are very short. And I'm ready to get back into this world. Find out what the will weaves as it will. Something weaves as the wheel. The wheel weaves as the wheel wills. It's a tongue twister. Happy reading. Bye.